You know, the issue is if you have so much stuff to do and so little time and so many things in your head, sometimes you can seem a little bit confused and you will maybe see this for the first few seconds, but after that it should be fine, since especially this is what everyone has been waiting for, the Nokia 7 Plus. This today will be the preview. I will try to keep it quite compact to leave a few things left for the review, but I'm gonna answer pretty much the most important questions, and the first one that I'm gonna answer is actually the one: if it is the phone that everyone has been waiting for and if all the expectations have been fulfilled, especially with the one being an almost flagship phone for like half the price. And I would say almost. There is one little thing, if they would have nailed that, it would have been pretty much the perfect mid-range phone for 2018, but that's a minor thing, and how important that is we will see later on. But now let's get into the design, and that one is amazing, besides maybe two things. First of all, I think it's a little bit too tall, because the OnePlus 5T is already quite a tall phone, and this one is just, as you can see, noticeably taller. And I know a lot of people don't like this kind of remote boxy design, but it's just very tall and a little bit top heavy. But that's one thing, besides also the fingerprint reader being a tad little bit too high for me. I would wish for it to be here. But I've complained about the Nokia 62718 to be too low. So a little bit higher is actually okay and something you can use to, even though it's maybe not the best one. The screen turn-on time is quite long after all, as you can see here. If the screen is on, the fingerprint reader though, very reliable and gets the job done. But the highlight here is definitely the build quality and the whole execution, because as you can see, this nice copper frame, very nicely done. There is a little bit of a perceived gap. You can feel it a little bit. It's not perfectly smooth rounded off, but not sharp at all. So great done. It feels and looks so great. Buttons placed pretty much perfectly, easy to reach. Then this is the absolute highlight, and I'm actually not sure. I'm just gonna say, please don't quote me on that. I have no idea if this is actual metal or plastic. If it is plastic, which I kind of doubt, then it's the best plastic that I've ever seen, because it feels very solid. But the thing why I'm not quite sure if it is metal is because there is a little bit of some very light soft touch coating, which makes this phone so incredibly grippy. This is unbelievable because, as you can see, it doesn't really attract many fingerprints, and it's grippy at all times. It's never really cold or warm. So I think it's slightly coated metal. But either way, it's fantastic, with a little bit of a curve towards the back, which makes it easier to hold on. And the whole device doesn't really feel super wide, but just tall. Otherwise, we have the headphone jack, then the SIM card and the SD card tray, USB Type-C, the speaker, microphone, and everything else is also nice. There is a little bit of a curve on the front, as you can see, with a nice transition towards the sides. There is a notification ID, of course, the cam. But yeah, quite noticeable top and bottom bezels after all, which is why the phone is so tall. The side bezels are actually quite okay. This is pretty much what you get on most phones. So this, the in-hand feel, the quality, the appearance, absolutely great. Now the display is something that I want to not take too much time for. It is an absolutely nice display. The one thing is weird because I measure pretty much on all of these 2x1 phones with 6 inches, 500 lux, so it kind of seems to me that it's always the same display. So viewing angles are okay, it's bright enough, colors are fine, but no customization. Since it's an Android One device, you don't have any options to kind of tweak the calibration, which is the one thing that I would have actually wished for. Now the speaker, just real quick, because you just have to hear that. That's the one thing that I was talking about. And yes, it's only this one, not the earpiece as well. Now what's my issue here? It seems to kind of oversteer, because it kind of tries to boost the bass a little bit and seem very rich, which it kind of does, but then it also has a little bit of distortions, and it's just not super loud. So this is the one thing. It's still good enough. It's an average, okay speaker, but that is the one thing. If they would have nailed that a little bit better, then yes, the headphone jack seems pretty average as well, but the one great thing, Snapdragon 660. This is the second phone I've actually used with this chip, and it was great already on the Mi Note 3, but it's so nice to see this chip in another phone, because as you can see here, super smooth, and this is easily on a Snapdragon 821 level, and very, very close actually to an 835, because yes, what you notice is that the app launch times maybe aren't the quickest ones, but the scrolling is very smooth, it's very consistent, there's pretty much no lag at all, everything, of course, multitasking works also great, as you can see here. Of course, yeah, This is where it just sometimes bogs up a little bit, but I need a little bit more time to evaluate it. But I know the 660 is great, and I'm absolutely convinced that this will do the job just fine. Absolutely. This is more than actually most people need, because something like a 636 is good enough for everyone, and the 660 actually is just a little bit more some bonus performance. So I'm super pleased with that. Also, gaming is great. Battery life, I can't really judge yet. I need a little more time, but I know that the 660 from the phone that I've used it with is already very efficient. It doesn't really get warm, and we have a 3800 milliamp hour battery in here, which actually surprised me a lot if that spec on GSM Arena wasn't wrong, so don't quote me on that. But this potentially could be 8 hours on mobile data. That's just a rough estimation. Don't really, don't quote me on that, because like I said, this is just a preview after one day anyways. Now, software, as you can see, it's Android One. We don't need to waste any time on that. That's good. So let's just already get into the camera, and I have to show off one thing. This now is, as you can see, the Nokia app that we know maybe from the past with the Pro mode. The Pro mode, easy access to all of these manual functions, and then we have a little bit of some weird options. Actually, answer me please one thing, because let's actually get back to photo mode. Please answer me what this option is. I have no idea. I don't see any difference if I turn it on or off. That's the only thing that I don't get at all. Of course, you can change between dual PIP and the display mode. The live bokeh, I can already tell you, is absolute trash garbage. Because, for example, now obviously, because it actually crops in quite heavily, it will tell you that you have to get further away. But no matter what I tried, this always ended in absolute garbage. The bokeh mode, forget that. The rest is absolutely fine. And that's why we should take a quick look at the pictures actually. I did some very low light shots, so don't get too disturbed by these. These don't look great, but they wouldn't really look great on any other phone. This is still okay, believe me, because my normal pictures that I usually do, as you can see here, actually it was a little bit brighter since it's getting sunnier these days, look really, really nice. The autofocus works absolutely great, super fast, shutter times are also good. We have HDR auto, which in most cases I just left on because it provides just, I would say, the best balance. Nice, sharp pictures. And this for 400 euros, or whatever the phone will cost in a few weeks or months, is absolutely top notch. Nice and sharp, nice colors, not quite the Sony level. I have to say, this year Sony's have the best color reproduction, the most natural one, but still everything looks nice. Here you can see also some other phones. HDR does a very nice job. I would actually leave auto HDR on all the time. As you can see here, this is without and this is with. So I think it's top. And all other pictures also great. It's not quite on a flagship level, but this is very, very close. Especially if you look at the selfies, this was with very harsh sunlight, and it still managed to quite. Here there is a little bit of some weirdness going on, because as you can see, I don't have this blemish on my head. This is a little bit of a quirk, but otherwise pictures also turn out nice. If you're too close, it's a little bit out of focus, but normal distance without shaky hands, pictures are nice. Not the very best selfie cam, but also, once again, very, very close to the best ones. Let's check video real quick, and pretty much just 4K, because yeah, a little bit of artifacting is going on. Audio is really good, though. The microphone seems to provide really nice, full, high quality sound. The autofocus works well. It doesn't really switch the focus too abruptly. It is smooth. And also, like you will see now, the autofocus in video works really nice, and it seems sharp. Very nice quality. Of course, we had a lot of light, so that helps cameras these days all the way. But yeah. I need a little bit more time, but from what I can see, also, for example, the front-facing cam, absolutely convincing, nice and sharp. Great contrast, actually. The only thing that bothered me here is that the crop is very heavy. I need to completely stretch out my arm that I get my whole face in it, so the crop is just too heavy. That's the only thing that I could complain about the mode here, because, no wait, that's the wrong video, this one. It's just too close. That's the only thing. And yes, there is a little bit of some wobble, because it kind of tries to stabilize it weirdly, but then it sometimes gets a little bit blurry and weird. But as we'll see, low light, obviously it degrades in terms of quality, gets noisier. But I've seen worse. I have seen worse. So let's get back to the conclusion for the preview. Now, let me quickly go through all my categories, and I can already tell you what I think so far. Design, like I said, it's a little bit too tall, that's the only thing. Build quality is absolutely top notch. The display is on a very good level, definitely better ones are available, yes, but not at this price range, not really. The speaker is the one thing that could have been better, the headphone jack as well. So sound department is where there is room for improvement, but that's usually the thing that most people don't really care so much about. Performance 660, yes, this is almost flagship territory. And in normal daily use, you won't really bother about that because therefore you get a very efficient SoC. Actually, the 835 was crazy efficient, so this one is very close to that still. But with the big battery, I expect it to be one of the best performers with amazing battery life, which is a combo that you usually don't get that often. And then you get Android One, obviously, with all the updates, with the clean software, without any bloat. Win-win. Camera now is also improved in terms of usability because it's closer to what we have seen in Nokia in the past. The camera so far pretty much delivers wherever. Only video was a little bit too close for the selfie video, but the other qualities were nice. And the bokeh mode is just pretty much complete trash, unusable. Whatever I tried, like 20, 30 attempts, nothing really worked out. So that's the one thing, if that's important. What else is there to say? Now, it is already down to like 370, but even with the official price for 400, I can tell you that this will be pretty much the mid-ranger of this year because all qualities are super high. The one that isn't all that high is something that usually people don't bother about. The price should even drop a little bit, I would say 350, maybe even slightly lower. And I'm not quite sure which phone will get quite close to that because yes, there is something like a Xiaomi Mi Note 3, but that doesn't have Android One or anything like that. It doesn't have quite maybe the battery life because it's after all smaller, but it's a little bit of a smaller phone. It doesn't have 2x1 and it's just different because of the software and such. And no Band 20, for example. But that's maybe a comparison that I will do because it's after all the closest one that I've seen. But not to make this any longer, first impressions, really, really strong. Okay, that's it. Until next time.